Welcome to My Weekly Mixtape, a podcast that takes the classic mixtape approach to building a modern playlist. I'm your host, Brian Colburn. This week, to celebrate the 100th episode of My Weekly Mixtape, I'm creating the ultimate mixtape. And now you might be thinking to yourself, we're on episode 102 now, so what the hell is Brian talking about? Well, this is volume 3 of the ultimate mixtape, which started all the way back on episode 100. So this is a 3-episode celebration, a trifecta, if you will. So if you haven't heard episodes 100 or 101 yet, you might want to hit pause and check those out first, or just throw caution to the wind and continue listening. I appreciate the support no matter how you decide to listen to the show. But that said, this finale is going to be an absolute doozy, as I had mentioned that there were 65 song choices for the ultimate mixtape, and yet we've only gotten to 40 so far. So what better way to close out this trilogy than with 25 songs that will finish this edition of the ultimate mixtape. And now the way we're going to do this, since 25 isn't an even number, is have side A consist of the usual 10 songs, but side B will be the grand finale of this 3 episodes in 1 week run, which, remind me down the road, this was absolutely insane. And that side will consist of 15 songs. So buckle up, mixtapers. We've got a massive conclusion to this years-long experiment that comes to a finish today. But before we start diving into the songs, if you like what you're hearing on the show, you can help me out by either telling a friend, leaving the show a 5-star review wherever you're tuning in, or becoming a Patreon mixtaper at patreon.com/myweeklymixtape. There you can find ad-free episodes of the show, gain early access to future My Weekly Mixtape episodes, chime in on upcoming topics, become a future guest, and so much more. Once again, that's patreon.com/myweeklymixtape. Now, before we get started, I'm going to spoil one song, the song that was the cliffhanger ending to Volume 2 in this trilogy of episodes, so at least you know where I'm coming from with my first song choice today. But first, I'll remind everyone the question that fuels all of the answers tonight, and that is, if you had to choose one song for the ultimate mixtape, any song, any genre, that will be locked away in a time capsule for others to discover years or decades from now, which song would you choose and why? Now, as you remember, closing out side B of Volume 2 was Linkin Park's In the End, provided by Alex Gomez of The Sleevey G Show. So the first song of Volume 3 should, in theory, come out of that song and at least make some sort of musical sense. So with that, we're going to start with Carrie Cunningham's choice for the ultimate mixtape.
Good question. I would have to say, at first my brain automatically went to like Stop in the Name of Love by Diana Ross and the Supremes. But I'm thinking Fallen by Alicia Keys.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to think. I was like, it's got to be Diana Ross and the Supremes, and then I'm like, no, it's going to be like MacArthur Park by Donna Summers, and then I'm like, no, it's going to be Alicia Keys. She's also very influential in the pop world, and I believe probably even in the country market. If you don't know who Alicia Keys is, I think you was just born yesterday. I don't know. It's such a great song. It just resonates with me, and I find myself singing it randomly every once in a while, and then my mind goes down a rabbit hole and I start thinking about Toni Braxton, and there's this little sliver of women that just shine, and they'll just forever shine. And Alicia Keys is one of them. Fallen's the one.
From her 2001 album Songs in A Minor, the track reached number 1 on the Billboard US Hot 100 and was also a number 1 hit in Canada, Belgium, New Zealand, the Netherlands, and the UK, and was a top 10 hit all over the world. It won 3 Grammy Awards, Song of the Year, Best Female R&B Vocal Performance, and Best R&B Song, and the song reached number 22 on VH1's list of the 100 Greatest Songs of the 2000s, and Rolling Stone ranked it number 7 on their list of the 100 greatest R&B songs of the 21st century. Now, Carrie was my guest on episode 61, the Ultimate Modern Female Country Artists playlist, so be sure to check that one out, as well as Carrie's music, which you can find on all of the streaming sites. But coming out of Fallen, we've kind of gone from the nu metal and hip-hop at the end of Volume 2 into this kind of R&B vibe. So I can't think of a better way to follow up Fallen than with Joe Bonamassa's choice for the Ultimate Mixtape.
My Desert Island Blues song is Thrill Is Gone, B.B. King, the Bill Szymczyk production with the strings. Three things. One, it's a wonderfully written song, great sentiment, wonderfully sung and played, wonderfully produced by Bill Szymczyk, and like an Aurora Borealis sighting during the day in a rare, crazy just cycle of events, became a big hit, a blues song that's a hit. So that's my Desert Island song.
Another song you might not have known was even a cover. It was originally written by Roy Hawkins and Rick Darnell in 1951, Hawkins' recording reaching number 6 on the Billboard R&B chart in 1951. But BB's version came from his 1969 album Completely Well and reached number 15 on the Billboard Hot 100. I want to say it was the second time I saw Joe Bonamassa live. It was the House of Blues in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And the bill was Joe Bonamassa, Kenny Wayne Shepherd, and wait for it, B.B. King. I am so grateful I got to see B.B. King lay down The Thrill Is Gone live, as it was truly a memorable sight to see. And then my big story when we're talking about B.B. King, when I was working in radio in New York City, I was carrying a stack of reel-to-reel tapes where I was basically holding the stack, and it was kind of covering up my nose, almost covering up the bottom of my eyes, but I could see over it. And I'm talking to my boss as I'm walking backwards, going to put the tapes away in the closet. And as I'm walking, I feel a whoa, 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 and a hand on my shoulder. And I turn around, and standing next to me is B.B. King holding Lucille. And B.B. looked at me dead in the eyes and said, "So sorry, young man, you can knock me down and I'll get right back up, but Lucille does not know how to brace her falls very well. I apologize for bumping into you." And I said, "Mr. King, after you, sir." I backed out of the way. And that was my, 5 to 7 second brush with absolute greatness. And speaking of greatness, Joe Bonamassa was a guest on episode 87, the Ultimate Joe Bonamassa playlist, which he was kind enough to send out a full email newsletter surrounding. That was one of the absolute coolest forms of promotion I've ever seen an artist give to a My Weekly Mixtape interview. So I want to take this moment to humbly thank Joe Bonamassa and his team for that. If you didn't see that newsletter, it's posted up on the news press page over at myweeklymixtape.com if you want to see it for yourself. But now, coming out of The Thrill Is Gone, I have another song that keeps us going down this bluesy R&B road. So I'm going to stay that course for another song. With Todd Parkmore of Big Head Todd and the Monsters' choice for the Ultimate Mixtape.
Wow. I don't typically like these kinds of questions because I love all music. When you say that, though, Jeff Buckley comes to my mind. I adore Jeff Buckley. He has a song, Lover, You Should Have Come Over. His album, Grace, he had a very, very short career. That album is just pure gold. Every song on it, I adore. It's probably in my top of Desert Island albums, and that might be my mixtape choice.
From Jeff Buckley's only studio album, 1994's Grace, I'm sure a lot of folks were probably expecting Hallelujah, but I love where Todd went with this choice. This song was covered by Jamie Cullum on his 2003 album, 20-something, if you want to look that up. And in 2019, Paste's Stephen Edelstone ranked Lover You Should Have Come Over as number 1 on his list of the 10 best Jeff Buckley songs. Todd was an amazing guest on episode 72, the Ultimate Big Head Todd and the Monsters playlist, where we curated the ultimate 20-song Big Head Todd playlist. It's so much fun, but we also dive into songs from their latest album, her way out. The band is currently on the road for their huge 40th anniversary tour that runs all the way through April. At least that's what's posted up on their website as of me recording this. So be sure to check them out if they roll through your town. Now, rolling through my list, this is actually starting to get tougher and tougher to make this thing work here, but we have this bluesy R&B thing going, and I'm going to continue this, but I'm going to start to work some pop elements into my song choices and bring us in maybe kind of sort of a new direction, but not really. But anyway, I'm going to do that by sharing Jessica Katina from Music Notes from Jess's pick for the Ultimate Mixtape.
Well, Brian, if I had to choose a song for the Ultimate Mixtape, it would be Her Favorite Song by Mayor Hawthorne. It's been my personal favorite since iTunes recommended it to me in 2013, reminding how healing music can be for everybody. I love this song's rhythmic groove, how Jessie Ware's vocals become the favorite song's melody for the female character, and the breakdown of the ending is so fun. I was lucky to see Mayor Hawthorne at Darrell Hall's Pawling, New York venue in 2016. A friend helped me get the band's autographs and his. Then I went to a meet and greet next year to see his funk duo, Tuxedo, at New York City's Webster Hall. Mayor Hawthorne and Jake Guno were really nice during the meet and greet, and sometimes Mayor was pointing to me singing along with the lyrics at the show. The storyline of counting on a song to cheer up your day is exactly what you've worked so hard for my weekly mixtape, Brian. Thank you for the preparation you do for your guests, your listeners, and happy 100th episode.
The lead single from his 2013 album, Where Does This Door Go? The album as a whole reached number 30 on the US Billboard Hot 100. And as you could definitely hear the blues and R&B elements in Mayor's work, and I think that'll pivot us nicely into the next song choice. But before I do that, thank you to Jess for the incredibly kind words, for her song choice, and for being such a huge supporter of my weekly mixtape. And be sure to check out Music Notes with Jess, a fun podcast she puts out weekly as well. But now, coming out of her favorite song, I'm going to keep this vibe going by sharing Desmond Child's choice for the Ultimate Mixtape.
Written by whom?
Anybody you want. This could be your personal favorite song if you would like.
Oh my gosh. There's just a few songs that like never grow old for me. One of them is Ordinary Love by Sade. This is no ordinary love. I mean, it's magical. It's just timeless. It never grows old. And we play it like at least once or twice a week here at our house just for dinner music or whatever. And this has been going on since Curtis and I met each other. So that's 34 years. It's like our love song.
Wow.
You know, so he and I love that song. And gosh, there's just so many. But that one is the one that totally gets me.
From 1992's Love Deluxe, Sade's No Ordinary Love reached number 28 on the Billboard US Hot 100, number 15 in Canada, number 21 in Australia, number 14 in the UK, and number 4 in Italy, among many other worldwide chart positions. Pitchfork ranked the song number 42 on their list of the 250 best songs of the 1990s, and Rolling Stone ranked the song number 459 on their list of the 500 best songs of all time. It was an absolute honor having Desmond on the show not once, but twice, as he was a guest on both episodes 54 and 90. And in each of the episodes, we dive into all of the chart-topping smash hits he's written for Bon Jovi, Aerosmith, Kiss, Katy Perry, Joan Jett, Meatloaf, Alice Cooper, and yes, even Kermit the Frog, one of the best storytellers I've ever had on the show. If you haven't heard either of these episodes, do yourself a favor and check them both out. He also has his hit memoir, Living on a Prayer, Big Songs, Big Life, available in audiobook form as well as print. Okay, we're still in this R&B phase here, and I think there's no better way to put a stamp on that other than this pick from Nick Nespajani of Yacht Rock Review.
Wow. Great question. So I'm going to go with my karaoke song. I will only sing one song at karaoke, and that song is Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You. Originally written by Dolly Parton.
Nice.
I'm a huge Whitney Houston fan. And that song, when that came out, the time in my life, the impression that it made on me, it was like the most emotionally impactful song that I had ever heard. Like, I really felt what Whitney was singing about. And I try to create that every time I sing it in karaoke. And I don't sing karaoke often, but that's my track. I love Whitney Houston.
From 1992's The Bodyguard, the cover of Dolly Parton's classic, the song has sold over 24 million copies, making it the best-selling female artist single of all time, along with being one of the best-selling singles of all time, male or female. And if I counted this correctly, the song reached number 1 in 24 countries, including the US, Canada, the UK, Australia, Spain, France, and New Zealand. Obviously, cover songs. Don't Sleep on Me First in the Gimme Gimme's punk version from their 2014 album Are We Not Men, We Are Diva, as well as Hailstorm's version from their 2020 EP Reimagined. Now, this song does kind of leave me with a challenge here, as it is a massive song to try to follow up. But I think I can make this work, and this song just so happens to come from Nick's bandmate. So let's take a listen to what Peter Olson of Yacht Rock Review chose as his pick for the ultimate mixtape.
I think that the answer to this question changes probably on a daily basis, at least maybe not that often. But the song that just jumped into my head when you asked the question was a song that I recently listened to. This was maybe a couple years ago, just a song that I was familiar with when I was younger, but popped up on a playlist or something. And for some reason, it just hit me a different way, whatever the age I am now or the time it is in my life. And I listened to it probably like 10 times in a row. For some reason, I just got really obsessed with it. And now it's still in a consistent playlist with me. And that is the Beach Boys' Don't Worry, Baby.
From their 1964 album Shutdown Volume 2, the song reached number 17 on the Billboard US Hot 100 and number 12 on the Canada RPM Top Singles chart. Brian Wilson himself has stated that this song is, and I quote, probably the best record we've done. It has the best proportion of our voices and ranges. The song ranked number 11 on Spin's list of the greatest singles in history and number 178 on Rolling Stone's list of the greatest songs in history. Now, Nick and Peter of Yacht Rock Review were both awesome guests on episode 79. Wait for it, the ultimate yacht rock playlist. So if you want to, set sail with some yacht rock experts, that's the episode to do so. And be sure to catch them when they, I can't help it, sail through your town, which would be really odd if you don't live near a body of water. But I digress. I love how things are panning out right now because I actually think I have an easy choice in terms of following up Don't Worry, Baby. So with that, let's hear the song that Guy Fletcher of Dire Straits chose as his pick for the ultimate mixtape.
I love the Righteous Brothers, You've Lost That Loving Feeling. Mm-hmm. But probably only because it was a piece of music that inspired me, kind of kickstarted my musical interest. Probably because of the vocals and because of the production. It's an incredible record, and I must listen to it actually to remind myself of what's good about it. But all I know is it completely. I was entranced by it. So probably if there was one, it would be that. I thought you were going to ask me if there was one of Mark's. I'll assume you did ask me that, and I would say Telegraph Road because it's a journey, and it was always a journey to perform live, and it was always a journey to mix, and it was always a journey to anything to do with that song was just a lovely, unique. I can't believe it was a single as well. It actually came out as a single, the longest single in history. Until Going Home.
Produced by Phil Spector with his unmistakable wall of sound approach shining through on this track, the song reached number 1 on the US Billboard Hot 100, Canada Top Singles, and UK Singles chart. The song's been covered by everyone from the Beach Boys to Diane Warwick to Hall & Oates and then some. Guy was such an incredible guest. He joined me for a song dive into Mark Knopfler's Guitar Hero's Going Home, a song that Guy recorded in aid of Teenage Cancer Trust and Teen Cancer America, and the track features over 60 musical legends, including David Gilmour, Jeff Beck, Joe Bonamassa, who was just on earlier, Brian May, Sting, Buddy Guy. I mean, this list is insane. We also dive into some fun Dire Straits stories as well, and his work with Weird Al Yankovic on Al's parody of Money for Nothing, which you might recall from UHF as Beverly Hillbillies. And if you didn't know this, both Guy and Mark Knopfler of Dire Straits performed on that parody version. It was part of the reason why they allowed it to happen. But coming out of You've Lost That Lovin' Feeling, I'm going to keep this mellower side moving along as blues legend Walter Trout picks his choice for the ultimate mixtape.
Well, this is probably going to shock you, but I would probably choose Alfie by Burt Bacharach and Hal David.
Wow.
Because not only is the melody spectacular, but the lyrics of that song, if I could sum up what I would like to say about life, it's summed up in that lyrics. Something even non-believers can believe in. That lyrically, that song is just perfect. That song, I can't even think about it here without tearing up.
Written by Burt Bacharach and Hal David for the 1966 film Alfie, the song was both a hit for Celia Black in the UK and Diane Warwick here in the US. The song reached number 15 on the Billboard US Hot 100, number 5 on the Billboard R&B Singles Chart, and number 10 on the Canadian Singles Chart, and has also been covered by Cher, whose version hit number 32 on the Billboard US Hot 100 and number 36 in Canada. Walter was an amazing guest on episode 60, the Ultimate Walter Trout playlist, where we talked about songs from throughout his career and did an album dive into his latest release, as of this recording at least, that being 2024's Broken. But now I have to close out Side A of the Ultimate Mixtape Volume 3. And I think it'd be safe to say that we're closing out a side that's jam-packed full of emotion. So I couldn't think of a better way to close out Side A than with this pick from Bobby Schultz of Effin' Cultured.
Hey, Brian. If I had to pick one song for the Ultimate Playlist, I would choose The Impossible Dream, performed by Brian Stokes Mitchell on the Broadway cast recording of the 2002 revival of Man of La Mancha. This was a difficult question for me, man. I love so much music, from crooners to nu metal to country rap and beyond. But I had to make sure a song from a truly American art form made it into this playlist. One of the greatest ballads to ever be written for the stage. It's been performed by Jack Jones, Frank Sinatra, Jim Nabors as Gomer Pyle, The Temptations, Robert Goulet, Andy Williams, Cher, Roberta Flack, Placido Domingo. Hell, even John Cleese sang it on The Muppet Show. No one has sung it like Brian Stokes Mitchell. When he was on stage and sang this song, the show would come to a screeching halt because of the 5-minute standing ovation he would get when he was done. Every day during the darkest times of the COVID pandemic, Mitchell would stand out on his balcony in New York City and sing this song during the shift changes at the hospitals for the nurses and medical workers in the city. This song was a gift sung out to the heroes of the early days of the pandemic, and I have to believe its lyrics struck a chord to the hopeless. To dream the impossible dream, to fight the unbeatable foe, to bear with unbearable sorrow, to run where the brave dare not go, to right the unrightable wrong, to love pure and chaste from afar, to try when your arms are too weary, to reach the unreachable star. It's a gorgeous song, one of the best Broadway songs ever written, and should definitely be included in this list.
From the 2002 cast recording of Man of La Mancha, I was actually waiting to see if we got a Broadway song in the mix tonight, because I feel like even through 50 songs now, there are some genres we haven't touched on yet. So I'm glad to see this finally get represented, because Bobby couldn't have picked a more powerful, emotional song to do that. Bobby was a guest on episode 24, the Ultimate Summer Cookout and Barbecue playlist with a twist, and he is keeping the laughs going over on Effin' Cultured. So be sure to check out what he and the boys have going on over there. Just keep in mind when you tune in, that show is absolutely, positively not safe for work, so don't say I didn't warn you. But there you have it, folks. Side A of the Ultimate Mixtape Volume 3, which consists of Alicia Keys' Fallen, provided by Carrie Cunningham, B.B. King's The Thrill Is Gone, provided by Joe Bonamassa, Jeff Buckley's Lover You Shoulda Come Over, provided by Todd Park Moore of Big Head Todd and the Monsters, Mayor Hawthorne's Her Favorite Song, provided by Jessica Katina of Music Notes with Jess, Sade's Ordinary Love, provided by Desmond Child, Whitney Houston's I Will Always Love You, provided by Nick Nespajani of Yacht Rock Review, The Beach Boys' Don't Worry Baby, provided by Peter Olson of Yacht Rock Review, The Righteous Brothers' You've Lost That Love and Feeling, provided by Guy Fletcher of Dire Straits, Burt Bacharach with Hal David and Diane Warwick's Alfie, provided by Walter Trout, and Brian Stokes Mitchell, The Impossible Dream, provided by Bobby Schultz of Effin' Cultured. Head over to myweeklymixtape.com to hear all the songs we've discussed in this mix through the playlist embedded on the episode page. And now, mixtapers, we're finally here. 3 episodes in 1 week, 3 volumes of the Ultimate Mixtape, 65 songs, and we're finally down to the last supersized side, as side B will be the grand finale, as it has 15 songs. So let's not waste any more time here, and let's hear from Ed Toth of the Doobie Brothers as he provides his choice for the Ultimate Mixtape.
How do you even answer that question? I mean, I'm the type of guy that's probably like a lot of people in that it depends on the day. Mm-hmm. It depends on the day. And I listen to such a varied amount of music, a lot of which is instrumental. So there wouldn't particularly be a vocal message in any of it. But can I do this to you? Can I just throw out a bunch?
Let's say if you had to pick one just for today, the day we're recording, what would today's time capsule song be?
Well, you're asking me that question right now, and my answer to that question would have to be First Circle by the Pat Metheny Group. Instrumental, hints of jazz. I think it is such a beautiful song and a beautiful composition that it's undeniable in terms of representing all that is positive about humanity on this planet.
From 1984's First Circle, an album which won a Grammy Award for Best Jazz Fusion Performance, we're checking off another genre in this mix, coming out of the Broadway choice that closed out Side A. So I'm glad to see that jazz box finally checked off, and Pat Metheny is a great way to do it because you get a little bit of that fusion and maybe prog rock side of some of the songs that I discussed over these last 3 episodes. Now you might be thinking to yourself, Ed Toth, the Doobie Brothers. Brian, he hasn't been a guest on the show. And you're right. At least until Monday, because, spoiler alert, this Monday, episode 103, the Ultimate Doobie Brothers playlist drops, and it features an interview with Ed Toth, who went on from playing with Vertical Horizon during their Everything You Want and Go album cycles to becoming the drummer for the Doobie Brothers for the last 2 decades. This is an extremely in-depth and fun conversation, and if you're a fan of the Doobies, you don't want to miss this one, so stay tuned Monday for that. I don't do teases on this show very often, but this week apparently it's just a week full of teasing, so coming Monday, the Ultimate Doobie Brothers playlist. Now we've had Broadway and jazz fusion, let's keep stirring the pot with some one-off genres now, and go with this international choice from the incredible Wolfgang Valbrun.
That's a good question. What is the song that I would choose? So I think the artist is Jacques Brel, so it's a French singer, and the song is Ne me quitte pas. So in English, that's Don't Leave Me. And I think it's one of the most beautiful songs because it's not sang, it's lived. His investment in the delivery, the words in themselves are timeless, and they touch me every time that I hear it. So that would be my song, Ne me quitte pas from Jacques Brel.
Now, I'll be honest, I had not heard this song before sitting down with Wolfgang for his interview, where we dove into his Flawed by Design album. And I'm so glad we did, because this song is everything Wolfgang says about it. Its power, its emotion, and its beauty. I can't speak a single word in French, but I felt that performance. So thank you, Wolfgang. And Broadway, check. Jazz fusion, check. International, check. Classical, no check. At least not until now with this pick from Jack's Hollow.
I have to say there is the song called, and I'm going to butcher it, Gnosian #1. It's French, but it is gorgeous and haunting, and it should be played forever and always.
2 songs in a row. I had not heard this song before hearing Jack's answer, and once again, I'm extremely glad I did, because this opened up a whole new rabbit hole for me musically. What an amazing, haunting, and even storytelling song, even though there are no lyrics. It just paints a musical picture. Jax was an incredible guest on episode 55, the Ultimate Modern Blues Rock playlist, where we also did a dive into her Only the Wild Ones album, so be sure to check that out. And now, before we head back towards the rock side of the spectrum, we have one more of these musical outliers, the one-offs, if you will. And I couldn't think of a better way to close out this section of the mixtape than with this choice by Patreon mixtaper Philip Bergman.
Well, Brian, a lot of people have been submitting their favorite tunes for the Ultimate Mixtape, but I'm not going to do that. Oh no, I'm going to go a little bit different here. This is a song I do love. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't give you a song I don't, but it's not my all-time favorite. I am going to give you, as a submission for the Ultimate Mixtape, In the Evening by the Moonlight by the Haydn Quartet from 1908. Theodore Roosevelt was president, but was endorsing William Howard Taft to succeed him. This is before World War I. This is before network radio. I think this might even predate vinyl records. It's a very old song, but I have a few good reasons for this. First of all, someone needs to be the troll that recommends pre-World War I barbershop quartet music. It might as well be me, right? But on top of that, I really would like to have a great variety in this mixtape. Ideally, this Ultimate Mixtape should include music from all over the world, all over the eras. So Gregorian chants, Japanese opera, Afrobeat, country, salsa, just everything you can think of. And I'm choosing to include a little barbershop with it. So there's that. But most importantly, if you listen to the lyrics, from what you can make out, there is really a great theme in this song, a great message. When you listen to the lyrics and the story in the song, this is about the value that music holds for people. It's a story about a poor family, maybe not dirt poor, but relatively low income family that is living a hard scrabble life, doesn't have a whole lot of time for fun, and when they do have recreational time, they choose to make music. And music has such a high value in their lives that the fiddle hangs upon the wall because, again, as a lower income family, they couldn't afford an instrument case. Back then, instrument cases were for the rich only. So they didn't have an instrument case, but they treated that fiddle with such care, and they chose to spend their little recreational time making music, listening to music, and just enjoying music, letting it unite them as a family and as a community, really. And I think that's pretty much what my weekly mixtape is all about.
Good Lord, Philip. I honestly thought you were going to go with like a Weird Al song or something, as Philip was my guest for episode 56, the Ultimate Weird Al Yankovic playlist, but alas, he didn't. However, I'm pretty damn proud of myself because I think this smorgasbord of genres section is the perfect way to include a song choice like this in an unironic fashion. I love the story behind the track and the fact that it's streaming, so bravo on the details there. Philip has been such a huge supporter of all the podcasts I've been a part of, dating all the way back to the Tune Styles days. I mean, the board shorts joke that runs through My Weekly Mixtape is actually a throwback to Jay Sweet talking about his 90s board shorts obsession on several episodes of the show, and it's somehow transcended over to My Weekly Mixtape. But if you're on the My Weekly Mixtape Patreon with Philip and the rest of the mixtapers over at patreon.com/My Weekly Mixtape, I started uploading some of Toonstyle's back catalog as it's not available anywhere else. So I'm starting to post episodes over there as some extra bonus content for those of you that haven't heard it before. Now, while I'm really proud of myself for working Philip's pick in with kind of relative ease, maybe not, depending on how you're listening to this, it's a lot friggin' harder to come out of. So thanks for this curveball, Philip. This is tough. But instead of jumping back into modern rock, I think I'm going to take this little musical time machine from classical to pre-World War I barbershop quartet music to maybe the halfway point. And let's go back to 1963 as friend of the show Jimmy Mitchell provides his choice for the ultimate mixtape.
I'm just thinking, Remember Then by the Earls. Remember. And it's just the harmony. I saw it first on the Sha Na Na TV show, and then I heard it by the Earls on WCBS FM 101. And I was working in the Denny's restaurants change, and I was bouncing between Newburgh, Poughkeepsie, and Nanuet. And the Earls were playing, and a friend of mine at one of the other restaurants in the area, he was into this music as I was. And the Earls would play on Sunday nights in Nanuet, where I was from, and then on Thursday nights in Poughkeepsie. And the night that I thought I had the night off and I was going to get to join them to go see the Earls, and I was told I got to go down to Spring Valley, Nanuet, and work that restaurant. And I never got to see these guys play, and they played all around me for months. And he passed away recently. But that would be my song, Remember Then by the Earls.
The single reached number 24 on the Billboard US Hot 100, and for you movie buffs out there, you might recognize the song as it was featured in A Bronx Tale. Jimmy was an incredible guest along with Jay Sweet. He was good too, I mean, obviously, on episode 93, the ultimate golden oldies and doo-wop of the 50s and 60s playlist, Volume 2. So if you want to get a really in-depth discussion about the oldies, with me being quote-unquote Mr. Movie Man for once in my podcasting history, be sure to check that one out. I'm sure there's a Volume 3 coming down the pike, so stay tuned for that one. And coming out of Remember Then, we've got this choice from Sonny Gullidge.
Ooh, that's a hard one. Oh gosh. Any one of these three. I'm sorry. I can't do it. I can't do it because there are sides of me that are all just as important. The biggest and most important side, though, to me, I'll always say I'm a Christian first, and I'll say one of the songs that got me through a lot was I Can Only Imagine by Mercy Me. That would probably be one of the big ones. Then Louisiana 1927 by Randy Newman. Great song that, especially being a Katrina kid, that really hits home. And last but definitely not least, Freedom for the Stallion by Alan Toussaint. That is a song that can, in writing Word About the Young, that's part of what I was trying to accomplish. It's having that same energy that I had for freedom, that I had hearing Freedom for the Stallion, where it's saying, hey, this is what life is like, but let's look at it and let's just say we need help. Say that we need something. One of the key lines for that one is, and it was written so long ago, but before any of the stuff that happened in modern times. But the third verse said, they got men building walls, keeping other men out, ignore him when he whispers, but kill him when he shouts, oh Lord, you got to help us to find a way. And that right there, think about that being written so long ago, I think possibly 2007 or earlier. And I think that song hit home in a way that was so ridiculous because the first time I heard it was in 2019. And, there was a big temperament difference in our political world and our actual between 2007 and 2019. So to have that much time in between and have a song that was still relevant, honestly, that might be, if I had to pick one of the three, I'd say I Can Only Imagine. But if I had to say, what would other people need? Because I'm not going to be the one listening. Freedom for the Stallion is definitely probably going to be the one.
Written by Alan Toussaint and originally recorded by Lee Dorsey, Sonny is going with Alan's songbook version for the mixtape. And the song that Sonny references, Worried About the Young, is actually one of his songs from his album Go Be Free, which you can find the full album dive over at myweeklymixtape.com or check out his album on all the streaming platforms. Sonny was such a fun musical discussion, and if you aren't familiar with his music, you gotta remedy that because he has this gospel meets soul meets swamp rock sound, and it's absolutely infectious. But now here we are, starting to see the light at the end of this 3-episode mixtape tunnel, but there's still some massive tunes I've yet to get to, so let's remedy that, shall we? Starting with this pick from fellow Pantheon Podcast Network mate Jesse Jackson of Set Lusting Bruce.
That is a darn fine question, Brian. I have a lot of musical artists that I admire. If I had to go, top 4 would be Bruce Springsteen, John Hyatt, the Beach Boys, specifically Brian Wilson, and Jason Isbell. So the question would be, if I was going to do a Bruce Springsteen song, what would it be? You could pick Thunder Road, Born to Run, Better Days, but push comes to shove, the Bruce Springsteen live on Broadway, where he does Dancing in the Dark, turning into Land of Hope and Dream. It's one recording if I was going to do Bruce, but I'm not. John Hyatt, you've got to do Have a Little Faith in Me. Even though that's not my favorite John Hyatt song, it is iconic, and what a great song to share with future generations. But I'm not going to pick John Hyatt. If it was going to be Jason Isbell, once again, a lot of great songs. You could pick Cover Me Up, but I'd probably pick Elephant because it's such a powerful song that catches you by surprise. But I'm not going to pick Jason Isbell. So that leaves the Beach Boys or Brian Wilson. Everything from Fun, Fun, Fun to California Girls to Love and Mercy. But if I had to pick a Brian Wilson song, I would pick God Only Knows. Paul McCartney once said that God Only Knows was the most beautiful song he had ever heard. The magic of the chorus, the complexity of the lyrics. I may not always love you, but as long as there are stars above you, you never need to doubt it. I'll make you so sure about it. God only knows what I'd be without you. It is just a absolutely beautiful pop song that is so complex in its simplicity. So thank you, Brian, for being patient while I went through all my thought processes. And I wanted to give at least a little shout out to some of the songs I won't get pick. But God Only Knows, the Beach Boys, final answer.
From 1966's Pet Sounds, the song reached number 39 on the Billboard US Hot 100, number 6 in Canada, Ireland, and Norway, and number 2 in the UK. Jesse, like I had mentioned earlier, is another member of the Pantheon Podcast Network and a good friend of the show. You could check out episode 53, the Ultimate Bruce Springsteen playlist, to hear us wax poetic on the boss, or you could check out Set Lusting Bruce for all things Bruce and Bruce fandom related. I've guested over there talking about Tom Petty, of all things, but trust me, Jesse makes it all make sense. Thank you for that opportunity, Jesse. And before I move on to the next song, I got to play this clip from Eric Senich of the Van Halen News Desk and the Booked on Rock podcast.
Well, Brian, my choice for the ultimate mixtape would be God Only Knows by the Beach Boys, with the mastermind behind it being Brian Wilson, who wrote the song with Tony Asher. But make no mistake, this song is not what it is without the contributions of the musicians who execute Brian's vision, and he's even said that. The beautiful voice of his brother Carl Wilson, the instrumentation from the Wrecking Crew, from the intricate orchestrations right down to drummer Jim Gordon tapping away on plastic orange juice cups. It is absolutely brilliant. If there were ever a time capsule song, it's this one. So ahead of its time, it went unheralded when it was released in July of 1966. Brian isn't going with the standard pop song format. It's avant-garde. It repeats the progression of the verse and refrain, but transposed up by a fourth, only with new vocals added, multiple vocal parts sung in counterpoint. He decides to use clip-clop percussion with sleigh bells on every beat, something you only hear in holiday songs. Who thinks of that? And how does a man who had musicians do take after take after take for hours on end create a song that sounds so profoundly emotional as if it was all recorded on the first take? I didn't comprehend its brilliance, nor did I feel much when I first heard it years ago. But within the last handful of years, the song is one that makes me smile some days, makes me want to cry others. 100 years from now, this song will be introduced to somebody's ears, and it will bypass the brain and head straight for the soul, where it will remain. If you're hearing this in the year 3024, play this song, and then make sure you pass it on to a loved one, because after all, what would you be without them?
The first time a song has been repeated in 65 songs, it's the Beach Boys' God Only Knows, and the third song from the Beach Boys overall, as Peter Olson of Yacht Rock Review chimed in earlier with Don't Worry Baby. I simply can't say enough good things about Eric. He was my guest on a jam-packed episode 46, the Ultimate Van Halen playlist, that also featured Patreon mixtaper Cactus Pete. And I've been fortunate enough to be a guest over on the Booked on Rock podcast, which is an amazing show if you are looking for some great music-centric books and great music discussion. Be sure to check it out. You won't be disappointed. And now that we've had our first double song pick and triple band pick of the night, which was the Beach Boys, plus Rush and Tom Petty have been twofers on the Ultimate Mixtape, maybe it's time we made a trifecta of twofers, if any of that makes sense, as this group was already chosen all the way back in episode 100 or volume 1 of this Ultimate Mixtape. But here's Billy Sheehan of Mr. Big, Sons of Apollo, Tallis, and David Lee Roth to chime in with his pick for the Ultimate Mixtape.
I'll go with what I think is one of the greatest songs ever written by the Beatles. It's called If I Fell.
Wow.
And to me, the genius of songwriting and the way those lyrics fall rhythmically, that's just a technical thing, but what the lyrics mean on top of the fact that they're placed in perfection, rhyme, and cadence of these words and what they mean. If I fell in love with you, would you promise to be true and help me understand? Because I've been in love before and I found that love is more than just holding hands. Wow. Amazing. I think to me, that's one of my favorite songs of all time. And it's still emotionally touching to me. And if we go in the time capsule and be not heard of for a couple hundred years and heard again then by that, whoever was populating the world at that time, I think it would have, if they spoke English, I think they would have the same impact again.
From 1964's A Hard Day's Night, the song reached number 53 on the Billboard US Hot 100, number 38 in Italy, number 25 in West Germany, number 3 in the Netherlands, and number 1 in Norway. Billy is one of my absolute favorite bass players of all time, and I've been fortunate enough to talk music with him twice during my weekly mixtapes run. First, all the way back on episode 13, where we talked about music from throughout his entire career, and then episode 88, where we focused solely on the songs of Mr. Big. Two very highly recommended episodes, as Billy is another fantastic storyteller, and you'll find a lot of cool stories in both episodes, but in episode 88, he tells the stories with bass in hand. All right, so we just had Billy talk about one of his favorite songs of all time, so I think we're going to follow up with a song that's one of my personal favorite songs of all time, as Emily Wolf chimes in with her song choice for the ultimate mixtape.
Like out of the mixtape that we made?
No,
or just any song?
Any song in the history of recorded music. Widen the boundaries a little bit.
My God. Oh my God. Does it have to be 90s or
any
no?
decade?
Just any song.
It could be any song, any artist, any genre. You could do a Weird Al polka if you want.
Man, the thing that just is really on the tip of my tongue is Ramble On by Led Zeppelin.
Oh, yes.
That's like one of my favorites. Every time I hear that song, I feel great. And it's like everything feels awesome. I am on the right track and I'm just going to keep moving on and nothing matters. It's just me and whatever's in front of me. And it's cool that a song can do that.
My favorite Led Zeppelin song of all time. Thank you for picking that one.
Yeah.
From 1969's Led Zeppelin 2, or just Zeppelin 2, as most of us refer to it, the song reached number 66 on the Billboard Canadian Digital Songs Sales in 2007. And it was never released as a single. Try to wrap your mind around that one. The song was also ranked by Rolling Stone at number 5 on their list of the 50 greatest Led Zeppelin songs and number 440 on their list of the 500 greatest songs of all time. Emily was my guest on episode 89, the Ultimate Female Rock Playlist, where we had an incredible conversation that included some obvious choices as well as some deeper picks as well. So we covered the full spectrum of 90s female rock in that one, as well as diving into her most recent release, The Blowback. But now we've got this classic rock thing revving up again, coming full circle from how the Ultimate Mixtape started all the way back on episode 100. So let's keep that vibe going with Patreon mixtaper David Lee Smith.
Oh my God, that's like the hardest music question ever. I mean, there are so many fantastic songs out there in all of history. But now this may be completely sentimental on my part. I know we talked about this during the Stevie Ray Vaughan episode, but this is my favorite song of all time. Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble's version of Voodoo Child's Slave Return. Now,
nice.
Obviously, I could have said the Jimi Hendrix Experience original, because obviously it's his song. Hendrix has his own pedestal in terms of music history with his entire discography. And the original is up there with one of the greatest songs of all time. But like I said, it's sacrilege for me to prefer that over Hendrix, but it's the Stevie Ray Vaughan version is my favorite song of all time. And in terms of guitar music as a whole, you can't do any better than that. I mean, because the work on there is top notch in terms of any guitarist. You know, guitar lovers paradise right there. Just that whole 8 minutes of it. You could say the same thing for the Jimi Hendrix original too, but in terms of my guitar loving paradise, you can't do better than that right there.
There you have it, Stevie Ray Vaughan's cover of the Jimi Hendrix classic. Anyone who listened to episode 27, the Ultimate Stevie Ray Vaughan playlist, will not be surprised by this pick, as David is a massive SRV fan, and we had such a great conversation for that episode, as well as this other band from Texas, you know, that little old band from Texas, episode 91, the Ultimate ZZ Top playlist. David has been a huge supporter since way back in the Playlist Wars days, and I always look forward to talking music with him. And I have a feeling he'll be back based on feedback, because we've already gotten a lot of requests for a ZZ Top Volume 2, so I think it's safe to say that's going to be happening at some point. And David, with that, also thank you so much for being a part of the Patreon Mixtaper community. And if anybody listening wants to join Once again, it's patreon.com/myweeklymixtape. Now from here, we're going to keep this crescendo building as friend of the show, Bob Spear, gives his choice for the ultimate mixtape.
Hey, Brian. So time capsule songs, boy, you go through all of history. What do you pick? You got to pick one to put into a time capsule for future generations to enjoy. It's got to be something great, just epic. And so where have I settled on this? It has to be a great artist. It has to be a great song from that artist. And it has to be guaranteed enjoyed by all future generations. Who better than Prince, and what better song than Purple Rain? It's heartbreaking. It's epic. Great guitar. Just great singing. There are no bad things I can say about Purple Rain as a song. It's on a banger of an album. It should be up there with the best of Johann Sebastian Bach. So go ahead, put Purple Rain on there, and apologies to all the other songs that have to compete with it. Thank you.
From the 1984 soundtrack to Purple Rain, the song reached number 2 on the Billboard US Hot 100, number 3 in Canada and Australia, number 6 on the UK singles chart, and topped the charts in Belgium, France, the Netherlands, Finland, and Scotland. I can't talk about this song and not think about Prince's Super Bowl halftime performance, as that was arguably the best halftime performance of all time. Although for me, it's going to be Tom Petty because I was there in person, but I understand why pretty much everyone else will say Prince, and there's a part of me that completely agrees with that as well. But Prince now joins Rush, the Beatles, Tom Petty, and the Beach Boys for multiple ultimate mixtape time capsule submissions, and I'd say that's rightfully so. Bob, I appreciate all you've done for the show as well as for me and the family, and I am grateful, so grateful to have you in my life. So thank you for your chime in on that. But dude, Purple Rain, it's a big song to follow up, man. And I guess I'm going to have to keep this going at this pace because we're getting towards the end of the road here. So what better way to do that than with this pick from fellow Pantheon Podcast Network mate Jason Whistle of It's Not That Bad and There Can Only Be One.
You would not believe how much I've agonized over this, like going through so many different genres and milieus and feels and songs that you'd want to hear live, songs that you want to just chill out to, like whatever the case. But I finally settled on one that is not only representative of one of the best voices in music of our generation and of pretty much many generations, but also one that's going to raise the hair on your arms and on the back of your neck. And maybe one of those ones that's, maybe stuck in the middle of the mixtape, or maybe you close out your mixtape. But I'm going to go with Queen's The Show Must Go On, because first of all, you cannot have the mother of all mixtapes without Queen represented. That is a crime against humanity if you don't put a Queen song on this mixtape. Now, most people would sit there and say, well, of course you'd put We Will Rock You on there, or put We Are the Champions, or put the two because they kind of get mashed together no matter what. But to me, The Show Must Go On is the perfect curtain call for this band. And yes, I recognize that they released a posthumous album, Made in Heaven, after Innuendo was released. But The Show Must Go On feels like the way Freddie Mercury almost needed to say goodbye. And there's something about this song. It's a great mid-tempo song, so it's not gonna, cause you to get a speeding ticket. It's not going to cause you to crash the car because you're just going so crazy. But it is one you're going to sing along with in the car. You won't be able to hit those notes because Freddie Mercury is just an insanely human talent, like otherworldly his voice was. But Queen needs to be on this, and The Show Must Go On. If you think about the Freddie Mercury tribute concert, Elton John on stage, Tony Iommi joining the band on guitar, like this was such a moment. And if you ever want to just bask in all that was Freddie Mercury's voice, even in the end, this song still showed just how much power he had. The Show Must Go On needs to be on this mixtape.
From 1991's Innuendo, the song reached number 40 on the US mainstream rock charts, number 16 in the UK, number 75 in Australia, number 7 in Germany, and number 2 in France. What else needs to be said about this masterpiece? And Jason, what else can I say about you? From the moment I brought this show idea up to you, You chimed in with, hey man, let's hop online and record a pilot so that way you could see how it sounds. And that pilot became episode 1, the Ultimate Opening Guitar Riffs playlist. And since then, you've been on the show a staggering 9 times. Well, 10 if you count this clip I just played to you. And I am grateful for every single one of them. Always a pleasure talking music with you, whether it's over here on My Weekly Mixtape or over on your shows. It's not that bad, and there can only be one. But here we go. Prince, Purple Rain, Queen, The Show Must Go On. I need to find the musical trifecta to close off these two. And the way I think I can do that is via another Pantheon Podcast Network mate, that being Mac of the Ugly American Werewolf in London Rock Podcast's choice for the Ultimate Mixtape.
So for my buddy Brian at My Weekly Mixtape, I appreciate you putting together this ultimate mixtape. And when you asked me to come up with one song that I like to include, I'm like, that's a monumental task. There's so many songs that I love that as soon as they come on, the music goes straight up and I'm instantly in a better mood or transported to another place. And it could be a lot of things. What if you're down and Everything She Does Is Magic comes on by The Police? I guarantee you're hopping around and happy after that. What if you're feeling mellow, driving down the road on a rainy day, and Have You Ever Seen the Rain by Creedence Clearwater comes on? That's amazing, right? I have probably a dozen songs that I could choose from, and narrowing it down to one is hard. And at the end of the day, I came up with 2 epics, which may be the 2 best songs of 2 amazing bands. One is Sultans of Swing by Dire Straits. One is Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd. Little bit different vibe on each of them, certainly different bands, but both have incredible guitarists in Mark Knopfler of Dire Straits and David Gilmour of Pink Floyd. And they're both the lead singers to boot. Now, Sultans of Swing is fantastic. And I think the best version that they ever did was the live version on Alchemy, which stretches out more than 10 minutes long, where they jam away and then they bring it down for a little while and then they build it back up. And I thought that would be a great one to add to the mixtape because you need that song in there somewhere that's like, it's fun, it's rocking, and then we kind of bring it down a little bit, and then it builds back up to this big jam at the end. But I think at the end of the day, I have to go with Comfortably Numb. The emotion that David Gilmour can pull out of every note, especially with that end solo, is extraordinary. And I've seen him do it live, and it can bring a tear to your eye. It can bring all the emotion out of you, no matter where you are, even if you don't speak English. You can feel it through Comfortably Numb. So it's a tough task that you're asking for here, Brian. But if you ask me straight up, gun to my head, give me one song for a mixtape that epitomizes what you love about rock and roll or your favorite song, I'm going to go with Comfortably Numb. And if you ask me again next week, it'll change. But that's what I'm going with, and I appreciate you letting me be a part of this. And as we always say to close our show, Brian, you keep doing what you do to keep rock alive.
From 1979's The Wall, deemed one of the greatest guitar solos of all time by, well, a lot of people. In 2017, Billboard and Pace both ranked the song number 4 on their lists of the greatest Pink Floyd songs ever, and Rolling Stone ranked it number 179 on their list of the 500 greatest songs of all time. The song was covered by the Scissor Sisters in 2004, where it became a number 1 hit on the UK dance charts, and in 2024, Body Count, the metal band featuring Ice-T, covered the track with David Gilmour on guitar, who lamented after the release that Body Count made the song relevant again. I'd kind of argue with that one because I don't think the song's ever not been relevant, but I'll always default to Mr. Gilmour on that one. I personally was lucky to guest on the Ugly American Werewolf in London to talk about one of my favorite concert experiences, which was seeing Blues Traveler at the Roseland Ballroom in December of 2001, a few months post 9/11. It was a great discussion, some fun moments, some powerful moments, and I look forward to repaying Mac by bringing him on to My Weekly Mixtape for a future episode later this year. But now that we've had a trifecta of Purple Rain, The Show Must Go On, and Comfortably Numb, I don't think we could really get any bigger than that, but there's still 2 songs left to go on the Ultimate Mixtape. And that first pick comes from me because, damn it, we've gotten this far, and I can't close this time capsule up without including at least one song in the mix. The hell would I be doing this whole show for? But anyway, for my pick, I am going to go with, I think you guys know, but you're wrong. I am going to go with Van Morrison's Into the Mystic. Now, I'm going to pause for a second as some of you pick your jaws up off the ground, but stay tuned for that. Stay tuned. From 1970's Moondance, the song was not released as a single, which I consider shocking, but Rolling Stone ranks it number 474 on their list of the 500 greatest songs of all time, and Ultimate Classic Rock ranks it as Van Morrison's greatest song, saying that its style and grace turned it into an instant classic. There's been covers by everyone from the Wallflowers, which was in American Wedding, to Joe Cocker, to Zac Brown Band, but as much as I love all three of those, none of them hold the power and spellbinding nature that Van's original brings. And yes, there was an episode, the Ultimate Spellbinding Songs playlist, so maybe that song made that episode. Maybe it didn't. You'll have to go back and find out. But let's be honest, there simply was no way for me to up the ante from that last trio of songs. But you have to land this plane somehow, and after that explosion of epic proportions, we needed something that was just as powerful, but kind of taking us home, so to speak. And that song does just that, the encore, if you will. So that will be my pick for the Ultimate Mixtape. But now some of you out there listening are saying, Brian, come on, man. We know quite well that Rainbow Connection is your favorite song of all time. How the hell did you not include that as your pick for the Ultimate Mixtape? Well, to answer that, here's the final song choice of the evening from musician and good friend of the show, Sean Faust.
Well, there's no fire in the fireplace. There's no carpet on the floor. Don't try to order dinner. There's no kitchen anymore. So if you don't like friendly animals and can learn to stand the smell, well, welcome home to Happiness Hotel.
Sean, if you had to contribute one song to the Ultimate Mixtape, which song would you choose and why?
Ooh, one song. And this is my one song from the Ultimate Mixtape. Dude, and I'm pretty sure you're going to agree with me. It's the greatest song ever written by Mr. Paul Williams, performed by Mr. Kermit T. Frog. It is The Rainbow Connection. Is this the 80s slow clap? Life is a movie, write your own ending.
Dude, of course. And I'll get into my reason, but why did you pick it?
Because it's my favorite song ever written. It's as simple as that. There is no deeper meaning besides the fact that every time I hear this song, I am just filled with the spirit of this song.
Thank you. What else needs to be said about this incredible song? It is the most beautiful song ever written. This song means so much to me. The lyrics are poignant and beautiful and wonderful. So yeah, bravo on the pick. And you're right, dude. It is one of the greatest. It is, for me at least, the greatest song ever written. Amen. I think people already know where I stand with this song, so I'll just say thank you, Sean, for scooping me on this one, so I was able to throw people for a loop and slide in that Van Morrison pick just before. Sean has been a guest on episodes 16 and 38, the Ultimate 80s and some 90s Power Ballads playlist, volumes 1 and 2, as well as episode 77, the Ultimate Musical Trios playlist with Jason Whistle, who we just talked about earlier. But be sure to keep up with all that Sean has going on in his music and his live shows. I try to share a lot of his stuff on social media, but if you're in the tri-state area, be sure to catch one of his shows and fret not, because I am working with Sean on his next appearance on the show, so he'll be back very, very soon. But I can't just leave the Rainbow Connection to just what Sean and I said there, because there's much more to this song for me. It is my favorite song of all time, like I was talking with Sean about. But just a few episodes ago, I had the chance to have the Rainbow Connection songwriter, Paul Williams, on the show to discuss this, the entire Muppet movie soundtrack, and Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. And I feel like we need to go just a little bit deeper into this song, because this is the exclamation point at the end of the Ultimate Mixtape. So here is part of my conversation with Paul Williams, the writer of The Rainbow Connection.
When you sit down to work with the Muppet performers and under the leadership of Jim, you're stepping into a world that it's impossible not to just take big breaths and go, how did I get here? Oh my God, how did I get here? And then you were, in my case, I was awash with gratitude and to be working with Kenny, and it's interesting. You know, the classic case of two guys that are really right for something, writing something is easy to sell. What a lot of people don't know about is those two guys sitting down and writing, for example, the first verse of a song like Rainbow Connection, where you just write something where at the end of those first couple lines, you look at each other and you go, eek, what have we done? Think about it. Why are there so many songs about rainbows? And what's on the other side? Rainbows are visions, but only illusions. Rainbows have nothing to hide. And we looked at each other and went, oh, crap, wait a minute. Well, now we've done it. Look what we did. We just denied the existence of any magic, any mystical, anything other than just an illusion, you know, to rainbows. But what happened then is a pure gift from the muse or the big amigo or the universe or what. But what happens next is Kermit sits in the next line, walks away from the podium in a sense, stops being the teacher or the mentor, and he sings, well, so we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know the wrong way to see, someday we'll find it. The rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. What happens in that moment is he truly becomes a member of the audience. And we're sitting there and now they're telling us it's just illusions, but we, you know, and later on in the song, you know, who said that every wish would be heard and answered when wished on the morning star? Somebody thought of that and someone believed it. Look what it's done so far. There is elements of a faith in there that is very personal to me. I believe that what we dwell on, we create. If I keep thinking, I'm not going to get that job, I'm not going to get that job, why should I bother? I'm not going to get that job. It's like I'm absolutely giving the universe my plans for this immediate future, as opposed to, wow, what's coming next? You know, oh, that would be a great job. But if I don't get that, whatever I do get is probably going to be better. That mindset, I think, has a solid influence on me being a co-creator in my future. It's almost like delivering, your list. You pull up to the window at a fast food place and let them know what you want, and they give it to you. I'm not suggesting that I am turning the universe into a fast food window. What I'm saying is that our intention speaks louder than we do sometimes. And so that amazing moment in writing Rainbow Connection with Kenny is something that I look back on and I go, you know what? I don't know who else's names to put on the sheet music, but it feels like there's a lot of energy and a lot of brilliance hovering overhead sometimes when you're sitting there and you're like, what am I going to write? So you postpone it, but you don't get to it right away. And then when you finally, it's like trying to remember a name. It pops into your head. It pours out of you. It's a really long answer. I hope that it was somewhere close to the question you asked.
Oh, are you kidding me? I mean, look, I have to kind of do an aside here because I started podcasting in 2017. And my co-host, Jay Sweet, and I had a show for several years called Tune Styles. And the whole time when we were building that show and getting our feet under us and getting this podcast thing going, I kept saying, I want to talk to the people whose music meant something to me. And I created a list of people that I wanted to talk to at some point in life. And at the top of that list was Paul Williams because of Rainbow Connection.
Wow.
This is the song that I danced with my mom to when I was still in preschool. She would put the record on because it was my album. The Muppet Movie was one of the first albums my parents bought me. And I remember vividly walking over and dancing with her to that song, to the whole soundtrack. But Rainbow Connection was the one that always resonated most with us. So fast forward many years down the road. And in 2005, my wife and I got married. And my mom said, whatever you do, if you play Kermit the Frog for our mother-son dance, I'll never be able to make it through. And I said, don't worry, Ma. I promise you Kermit the Frog will not start our mother-son dance. And I was very honest about that because what I did was, being an audio engineer, is I took Kenny Loggins' version of the Rainbow Connection and I played the first few lines of the song. And she whispered in my ear and she says, okay, very good, Brian. She goes, because if I heard Kermit, I would have lost it. Right at the end of the half of the verse that you talked about, where it went into Kermit walking away from the podium, I actually crossfaded the two songs and had Kermit finish the song. And I'm literally welling up right now talking about it because this song just means so much to me and so much to my mom. And she's still here. She's going to listen to this episode. And I really don't have an end to that, but this interview means so much to me.
Let me tell you that that's what I call a heart payment. Because it's like when I hear a story like that about you and your mom, and then the fact that it was a part of your wedding and all, that means I was there in some way. I mean, what a gift to return to me to share that. So on behalf of Kenny Asher and I, and on behalf of Kermit, thanks for the invitation. Thanks for taking us to the party, and thanks for letting me see your heart. Because that's all about heart. My minister gets very, very passionate and touched by things when he's speaking. His name is Jim Terrell. And every now and then he gets that thing in his throat where he just can't make a sound. It's like, and he'll wait till he can actually get it out. And he always says, God's punctuation. So that little thing in your throat when you're touched and you all of a sudden your throat tightens up and you can't speak, that's evidence of a big, big open heart. And maybe it's God's punctuation. Like I refer to the Big Amigo as the Big Amigo because it's a very friendly presence. I'm 34 years sober, so part of us getting sober is finding a higher power and of our own understanding. And I always said, I don't understand my higher power, but I don't understand electricity either, but I use it. It switch and it lights up my life, and the same thing with my faith, So thanks for sharing that. That's a big deal to me.
And with that, the exclamation point of the Ultimate Mixtape Volume 3, which consists of the Pat Metheny Group, The First Circle, provided by Ed Toth of the Doobie Brothers, Jacques Brel, Ne me quitte pas, provided by Wolfgang Valbrin. Apologies if I butchered that pronunciation, did my best. Eric Satie's Gnossienne No. 1, provided by Jax Hollow. Hayden Quartet in the Evening by the Moonlight, provided by Patreon mixtaper Philip Bergman. The Earls Remember Then, provided by friend of the show Jimmy Mitchell. Alan Toussaint, Freedom for the Stallion, provided by Kevin Sonny Gullidge. Beach Boys, God Only Knows, provided by Jesse Jackson of Set Lusting Bruce and Eric Senich of the Van Halen News Desk and Booked on Rock podcast. The Beatles, If I Fell, provided by Billy Sheehan of Mr. Big. Led Zeppelin's Ramble On, provided by Emily Wolfe. Stevie Ray Vaughan's Voodoo Child, provided by Patreon mixtaper David Lee Smith. Prince's Purple Rain, provided by friend of the show Bob Spear. Queen's The Show Must Go On, provided by Jason Whistle of It's Not That Bad and There Can Only Be One. Pink Floyd's Comfortably Numb, provided by Mac of the Ugly American Werewolf in London Rock podcast. Van Morrison's Into the Mystic, provided by yours truly. And Paul Williams' Rainbow Connection, provided by Sean Faust. Head over to myweeklymixtape.com to hear all the songs we've discussed in this mix through the playlist embedded on the episode page. And if you have a song that you would like to add to the Ultimate Mixtape, I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to reach out to me at myweeklymixtape@gmail.com or via social media, where you can find me on almost all the social media haunts at myweeklymixtape. Now, I hope you've enjoyed this ridiculously fun experiment that I've unrolled over the last 3 episodes this week. And believe it or not, I already have the next edition of the Ultimate Mixtape underway over at patreon.com/myweeklymixtape because, believe it or not, episode 150 will be here before you know it. Hell, Monday is episode 103, and like I said before, what an episode it is. Ed Toth of the Doobie Brothers joins us for an in-depth one-on-one that takes us through his years with Vertical Horizon into his 2-decade run behind the drums for the legendary Doobie Brothers. You don't want to miss that one. And also remember, you can head to myweeklymixtape.com to check out the full catalog, all 100 plus episodes of My Weekly Mixtape. And if you like what you're hearing on the show, you can help me out by either telling a friend, leaving the show a 5-star review wherever you're tuning in, or becoming a Patreon mixtaper at patreon.com/My Weekly Mixtape. And for the last 100 episodes, I want to send a sincere, heartfelt thank you to anyone and everyone who's listened. Whether it was for one episode or all 100, I appreciate you being the voice that keeps this conversation going with me on social media and via email, and to the Patreon mixtapers and anyone and everyone who has supported My Weekly Mixtape thus far. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And this time, it's actually true. That's all for this week. Thank you as always for listening, and until next time, enjoy the tunes.